Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to part two of our show. I was forced to do this because we were hit with a DDoS attack in part one. And the more sense we make, the more we're hit with the attacks every night. It's almost beyond belief how much the elite and the status quo want to stop us. They really don't want to talk about a third party uniting America in the political spectrum right in the center. And that's what this is. And we take on the tough issues like we just showed you in the screen, like chemtrails, Russian involvement in our election process. We're not going to sit back and put together mild rules regarding impeachment like Pelosi has. We're going to actually enforce within our own party a strict no pay as you go, or no pay for play plan, where people are constantly paying people to do things. We're not going to allow that within our party. Pay for play is what led us to this Ukrainian problem with Donald Trump. Pay for play is what led us with the Haitian problem with the Clinton Foundation. We're going to make sure that nobody in our party is going to be doing pay for play, which is a way in which people constantly pad their pockets. And, politicians are, and I agree with one of the people over at, we got a person over at Periscope. You said that politicians just want to pad their pockets. All politicians do is that they don't care about the American people, only their own pockets. John 131 said that 52 minutes ago at Periscope. Most people are like that. Not me. I'm non-materialistic and I have a sustainable life where I live debt-free, so I don't have that need that Donald Trump has to finance his debts. And he's got a lot of debts. Yeah, a lot of people used to do things. This site was very powerful at one point. I'm perhaps the best thing going at Vaughn because my show has been a number of people trying to get in here, but Mark keeps turning them away. Trump keeps harping on the windmills, yeah. All he talks about is how terrible windmills are. He thinks they're going to hurt the eagles. It's ridiculous. There was an eagle that was killed recently. Yeah, they're looking for the killer. Somebody shot an eagle. Gunshot. That's, I think, a $15,000 fine if you shoot an eagle in America. It may even be a jail sentence. I'm not sure. But we do have an ongoing show despite all these DDoS attacks, and I hope you realize that we will pop right back up if you see us drop off the show at any given time. These DDoS attacks or distributed denial of service attacks at various levels have been going on for at least, I'd say, 8 to 9 years since we moved over here and before. We've had a lot of people attack us when we were on Blog TV, and they saw Blog TV get bought out from under us. Somebody made a $5 million payment to the people at Blog TV and shut that whole thing down. So we keep running our show on various free networks, but we're now seeing gatekeepers stop people from getting in at all points of entrance. So everywhere people are trying to get in, they're facing numerous problems just getting into the website to chat. And this is part of their plan to stop us. I'm just telling you what they're doing, and I'm giving you guys a heads up as to what's happening. I can only keep doing what I'm doing because there's no other way around this. We keep trying to do this because we have no other way to reach the world audience, let alone Americans. The people that control the country run the media. Now, this is a big fear thing going on. Donald Trump did nothing to resolve the North Korean promise of peace. We never saw denuclearization on his part, but now we're seeing North Korea promise a Christmas surprise. What's it going to be? Could be a missile. They don't do Christmas cards. I think they did one Christmas card one year. But threatening us again in lieu of all the meetings Donald Trump has had. Are they taking their missile to the moon? Are they going to have an intercontinental ballistic missile test? Will they be sending an ICBM into the atmosphere? Many people are wondering. And frankly, at this point, because Donald Trump didn't achieve anything with North Korea, I really don't care. I'm not going to fuel this argument by even giving this time in our show. So who cares? It is what it is. It's as good as it gets, right? Oh, nice. You put some photos out there. Appreciate it. Nice. Sarah put some photos out. She's building a photo library for us. That's cool. Okay, give me food, pesticides, organic oatmeal, oat products. Right. There's concern right now about oatmeal because they believe it may be contaminated with various things like Roundup. So you're buying food from oatmeal from Red Mill. Okay, let's take a look. Oh, I know why ICPU he's using CoinHive. Oh yeah, see, this is what's going on. Hang on, folks. We're being attacked. Let me get in the chat room. If you want to get out of CoinHive, which is running on the Vaughn network, you've got to open pop-out chat like I just did and then get out of there. Okay, that should work. That should help my computer. See how much faster my computer is immediately. Bottom line, there are pesticides in organic oatmeal. Really? I don't believe that's true. No. Yeah, they're highly processed ones from like Kashi and Cascadian Farms really are not contaminated with pesticide residues, right? You think water from the runoff is affecting this? I think you could run your mouth off about anything that's out there and claim it's this and that. There have been noticeable traces of Roundup in Quaker that came into Indonesia about a year and a half ago. And they sent them out because they have a very low tolerance for Roundup. But if you buy organic oatmeal, you're better off. Yeah, just shoot for the best possible product. Okay, great. You've known me since Blog TV, Glax, so yeah, exactly. And I can tell you that Blog TV, we had over 1 million viewers, and then I think it was some sort of a federal informant bought Blog TV for only $5 million. I'm going to be working on developing a documentary myself with all the footage we have, and I'm not sure if it's going to be a box set, like 4 DVD set of everything we've ever done, or best of, or possibly just a 2-hour documentary featuring a lot of the work we've done. So I'm working on something myself, but if I were approached by Netflix, I'd certainly, be open to talking to them about it. Yeah, well, I've seen birds dying off left and right. Somebody said that, 5G hasn't really affected our bird population. It's hard to process oatmeal. It's not easy. Yeah. 7-part miniseries. Yeah, it might be a 10-part miniseries, one for every year. But it's not easy to process oatmeal. So that's why I buy organic oatmeal. Oatmeal is not genetically modified. There's no genetically modified oatmeal, but it is a cover crop for a lot of other plants. And they use it to kind of soak up some of the residue from the Roundup. So we got to stop Roundup, folks. We absolutely have to stop Roundup. It's got to stop. Dow Chemical has to be told, no, you can't keep producing this and making it for gardens. Sorry. You're going to have to come up with a natural alternative, even if you're just making Epsom salt and vinegar. You've got to stop it. I believe that Roundup is causing irreparable damage to our biosphere. There's over 7 billion pounds of Roundup on the earth now, a mountain of Roundup, and it's just killing off. It's a shellator. It's designed to destroy, like pull paint off of metal pipes. It's ridiculous. So what it does to our system is the same thing. It strips away our genetic barriers and defenses and immunity. And in the process, it makes us more vulnerable to cancer. So we've got to stop Roundup. That's one of the big parts of a third party, is to really take on the issues of GMOs and Roundup and pesticides. I've been fighting for organic food for about 35 years now. Yeah, actually longer than that. Wow. No, 35 years. Yeah, and the goal has been, ever since I started this process of fighting for organic food, the goal was always to kind of slowly modify the marketplace, not shock it. And one of the first things I did was in 1985, I started going around and talking about organic food. And I was the first person to actually walk into the office of Safeway General Stores in Los Angeles, and I talked to the general manager of Safeway, and I sold him on the idea of organic food. I'll never forget that day. It was really exciting. I thought I was going to sell him on something in my brochures because I had lots of things for sale, but he said he didn't want to buy anything from me. But he said, I'm so excited, we're going to start making organic food. And it wasn't until about 10 or 15 years later that they finally produced their entire line of the O brand. But they got started back then in 85. And I'm really pleased to have been the first person to introduce that, because it is the largest producer of organic food in the country. There's over 350 brands now. So being that kind of a person, I don't care about the monetary gain. I just felt good knowing that I was walking in and introducing a very important corporation to something that will help people stay alive and avoid pesticides and herbicides. So I think it's really kind of cool. I'm happy about that. I'm proud of that. I'm not in this for personal gain. I'm not even here on earth for that purpose. That's why I've always been non-materialistic. I'm just here really to support an idea that can really take off from there. And cleaning up our environment is a very positive idea that will sell and bring on economic growth to our country. Green, clean technologies are not just venture capitalist ideas. They should be embraced by our government, and they should be promoted at a high level. And our government should start selling things if they can to make money. It was DDT or dioxin. Dioxin is still in the environment, and it's very dangerous. It's in the electrical junction boxes outside your city streets. Dioxin is. It's a very toxic element that if it blows, those things blow, dioxin gets in the environment. It's very, very unsafe. So we have to be very concerned about the long-term effects of dioxin. Just a small amount in the water can kill millions of people. But what's worse is now fentanyl can be weaponized, and countries like China, especially Shanghai, has been known to produce fentanyl that's bootlegged and being pushed into our market. And recently, the Mexican Navy, believe it or not, intercepted 47,000 pounds of fentanyl, enough to kill off 150 million people in the water supply. So we have to see fentanyl now as a biotoxin, which is perhaps should be on our top terror list warnings. And we should probably ban fentanyl completely because it is so dangerous. And I'm going to probably urge some modifications there because we are not seeing any leadership from Donald Trump on this level. And kids are dying of fentanyl overdoses and opioid overdoses. I also want to legalize marijuana, as you know. It'll help make our country a lot better. Having full legalization will open up the possibility that people can smoke marijuana as opposed to take heroin or opioids. And that will help people immensely. That we're already seeing a 30% reduction in addiction and overuse of opioids in states that allow recreational marijuana here in America. So, hey, that's a win-win from my perspective. I see this as a long-term goal. Stopping the police state is another big part of our plan. Setting up sensitivity training for brutality, to prevent brutality by police officers will be tied to federal funding. So if we don't allow brutality in our cities and we try to impose a strong measure of restraint by our police officers, it'll begin to build trust in communities. And if we have more of a beat cop oriented police force integrated in our community, we'll be more likely to be respectful of them and more likely to see and feel safer with them there. Going around shooting people isn't going to make people feel safer. So we need some level of oversight over brutality as well. So these are things that a third party can do. Right. Legalizing marijuana, creating biofuels, alternatives, green, clean technology, building houses up. These are all really positive things for our country that we could all do together. And it wouldn't be a big drain on our tax dollars because most of the money comes from wasteful spending that the Democrats and Republicans are currently involved in. Now, one of my ideas was to not fund Obamacare. And I told everyone that Donald Trump would not be able to repeal Obamacare, and I was right. But he is underfunding it significantly, and it has changed the nature of your healthcare in your community. So you're not getting calls all the time from your clinic saying you should come in for a checkup so they can make $150 per pop. So in this way, Donald Trump has actually trimmed the cost of healthcare a little bit from where it would have been. Wasteful spending in healthcare is probably the biggest problem, and then we got cost increases that are skyrocketing. So we have another plan called the Mobile Medical Unit, and if we distribute 200 of these in our cities across the country, we'll start to make a dent in the cost of healthcare, because these things can roll out healthcare solutions for $30 as opposed to $150. And we'll be able to give you a blood test and a diet plan, check to see if you have any breaks in your arms. We'll have a portable x-ray system there, portable ultrasound in case you have real serious concerns about, something growing inside of you. Yeah. We'll be able to do a little basic triage, and it won't go on your healthcare status. It won't be recorded on any massive cloud-based computer system. It will be simply treat, immediate care, and don't ask questions other than your ID in case you can't pay. So you could theoretically go into something like this without even telling people who you are, giving them $30 and coming back with a basic analysis of your blood. That's the goal. So more people get treated this way, will be preventing major illness long term, whereas right now there are a lot of people that just don't go to the doctor. That's how they avoid healthcare costs. And that's really how Americans are surviving right now. So you could have an anonymous visit, theoretically, if you wanted to. That's the goal. No, there won't be any coupons for hookers or massage parlors. You'll have to go to Vegas for that. Well, the everyday caring of aging population is mostly leveraged heavily on nursing care right now. And what I'm going to do is urge people to have home health care for their family members who are aging. But the only way I can urge them to do that and take care of their own families is to give them a perk in some way to do that. So I could expect to offer a perk for families who want to bring their elderly into their own homes. Right now, you could theoretically get paid making dinners for your family members if they're on restricted diet plans. There is a way in which you can get paid by the federal government to do that. I don't recommend it, but there are people that do that. So we already have something in place to help with elder care. Medicare benefits going out to big hospitals really are the big drain. We can't afford that. The idea Elizabeth Warren has of Medicare for all is absurd. It's going to cost $60 trillion a year. There's no way we could give high quality health care to everybody at the prices they're charging at private healthcare organizations. This will not affect or impact the private healthcare system at all. It's running parallel. It'll be a public hospital, and we're going to offer a public option too. I have a public option plan of $60 a month to help people who are impacted by no health care. If they want to, it's not mandatory. It'll just be a way that they can get their basic needs met at any hospital anywhere in the country without having to pay a copay. Yeah, kind of a two-tier plan. The base plan is that you can just have copays at the mobile medical unit. The next level up is the public option, and then you could go to a public hospital or a nonprofit hospital that currently get tax deductions for being nonprofit. They will have fees set at a certain rate, so no one can charge more for other reasons or if you're a different person. They will be paid with Medicaid funds as well as they currently are. But we're going to try to leverage more of the healthcare onto mobile units like this, so we won't have to come up with a huge amount for all these private healthcare involved in our system. Nonprofit and public hospitals will, in order to be in the system, will have to set a rate for everything. It'll have to be basically accepted across the country. So you'll know what an x-ray costs at any facility. Here you'll be able to get an x-ray included in your $30 stay. Just a portable x-ray to give you a quick analysis if you have a broken bone. And if you do have a seriously broken bone they have to set, you'll be sent to a local hospital. You'll be referred to a local hospital. But we might even have the ability to set up braces and do some casting here. It's possible. I do understand the implications, the ramifications of the U.S. Army mining minerals. We're building a tremendous barrier to a tremendous problem with our country's depleted uranium, or rather rare earth metals. We have very little control over rare earth metals. So strategically, why would the U.S. Army fund rare earths plant for weapons development? Makes total sense to me. The U.S. Army plans to fund the construction of a rare earths processing facility, part of an urgent push by Washington to secure domestic supplies of minerals. I think it's great. I have no problem with this at all. The impact is that we are securing our supply. Remember, China controls 97% of the world's rare earth metals used in top technologies, tablets, smartphones, etc. Everything from even welding operations, and there are a lot of things that are being used in televisions, etc., that are running out. So we do need a good supply. China should not have 97% control over all that. There's 1 ton of Chinese metal in each generator. I would not doubt that, yeah. Well, at this point, China has made a rampant rape of their landscape and their environment. They've hurt their waterways. They have impacted their soil. They're going to be facing a huge problem with food supply in the near future. Neodymium is one of those things that is used in almost everything related to engines, electrical engines. We'll need more of those. We should have our own tactical supply, strategic tactical supply of rare earth metals. I think that's a great idea. I'm glad to find out that they're doing that. Happy days are here again.
I mean, whatever happened to the old conservative discipline about paying for what you spend? I'm up for re-election this year, and I'm going to remind everybody what I did at home, which is going to cost me politically. When I argued that we should freeze federal spending, I meant Social Security as well. I meant Medicare and Medicaid. I meant veterans benefits. I meant every single solitary thing in the government. And I not only tried it once, I tried it twice, I tried it a third time, and I tried it a fourth time. Somebody has to tell me in here how we're going to do this hard work without dealing with any of those sacred cows.
The balanced budget amendment approach bring.
So these Democrats like Biden are actually pitching for digging into even our Social Security funds. So the thing that concerns me about the Democrats is they don't have a respect for your tax dollars. That's one of the biggest problems. We're not going to fund the development of this with your tax money. We're going to try to do this initially through philanthropic efforts, asking billionaires if they'd like to set this up and make this possible. And there won't be any return or gain for them, but a donation of $1 billion in one direction could easily make these things happen. I can build 200 of these things at $5 million apiece for $1 billion in 6 months. But I'll say a year. It'll take about a year to get these things off the ground. But 200 of these things could be built and spidering all across the country for $1 billion. Okay, Japan is mulling over the idea of discharging more waters from Fukushima because of the overload. I've been saying this for years, ever since I came up with a plan to save Fukushima by building a trench around it. Oh, this is not the Fukushima article? Oh, okay. No, this is the wrong link. Sorry. You sent me the wrong link, Drag King. Oh, there it is. Okay. That's just the second link. I got you. Okay, we'll go to Fukushima first. Fukushima, men have named you Fukushima. Yeah, more water will be released due to the runoff from Mount Fukushima.
Deal with the massive amount of radioactive water that's building up to this day at the disabled Fukushima nuclear power plant. After years of research, Japan says it's now seriously considering discharging that water into the sea. Kim Hyo-sun reports.
Approximately 1.1 million tons of radioactive water are stored at Japan's disabled Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant, and it's still building up by an average of 170 tons a day.
That's about 5 swimming pools filled with water. And as it builds up, it flows out over the area. What I would have done at Fukushima would have created a routing area around it, which would have prevented it from actually draining into the Fukushima Bay area. But unfortunately, I wasn't allowed to actually help. Even though I wrote a letter to the director of the IAEA, they never responded to me, strangely enough. Fukushima, Fukushima, men have me. Yeah, so we're looking at a right, environmental problem. It's in video, right? Gotcha, Dave. Thanks. Let's take a look at Fukushima. Here's a mound system that I theoretically thought could work. Say we were to build mounds over every one of the reactors made out of dirt that we could acquire from the area around the reactor. So they've already done some work to create. Now, they have done a lot of work at Fukushima. That's not to say that they haven't, but they really haven't done enough, in my opinion. The strategy of building a radiator underneath and freezing it in the ground was a nice thought, but it didn't really pan out. The icebox concept, it doesn't work completely. That's the problem. But this idea is fail-safe. It will work. And what they have to do is take robotic systems, robotic tractors, and trench out this entire area around the 6 nuclear reactors. Digging the trench will create a waterway, which will be a U-water shape, which will help redirect, and we make sure that none of it goes through this area. So say we prevent it from going into the outside of the ocean, we would keep it within the bay itself. And we could use that dirt to build these mounds and create multiple mounds all along this way, all the way down the line. So all of this would be a large mound over here, and it would prevent radioactive decay by gamma rays from getting into the atmosphere. But this concept also includes capping the ocean bay as well, with a block destroyers. A couple destroyers would block the bay. I've got a U.S. carrier right there, potentially, but a couple destroyers that are old could be retired and drained and dumped in that area. And then any liquid cement with epoxy set could do a wet set in there, and we could actually lock that up. That would at least create a barrier that it wouldn't keep flowing out into the ocean, or at least it wouldn't rapidly flow out. And this concept I came up with 9 years ago and sent copies of it to the director of the IAEA. Never got a response. But now we have a bigger problem ongoing because of the lack of action by these people.
Tokyo's industry ministry recommended on Monday 3 measures that could be used to discharge the radioactive water. First, gradually releasing it into the sea. Second, vaporizing it into the air. Third, a combination of both methods. The government subcommittee established in November 2016 to research the matter explained that a controlled discharge of the radioactive water into the ocean would stably dilute and disperse it. Although the final decision lies in the hands of Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's cabinet, the subcommittee maintains that dumping the water into the ocean would create a, quote, significantly small health risk to humans.
I don't agree. This idea of dilution is the solution to pollution has been mulled around by these status quo people for years, and it's not.
It did not explain when and for how long the radioactive water could be discharged, but added the Japanese government must take full responsibility and make a final decision. It's now left to be seen how South Korea reacts as Seoul.
Wow, so Sarah signed out of our account. That kind of sucks. I'll have her sign back in, I guess. They're not trying to kill you. They just our government's done nothing and Trump's done nothing to prevent the Fukushima radiation from dumping in the air, in the water. And we're not even testing the Pacific Ocean right now. Oh yeah, Ohio River, and don't forget the Missouri River. It's got a nuclear reactor sitting on it that sometimes overflows. And the government has done nothing. I'm going to flash a statistic at you that'll blow your mind. Ever since the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, the NRC, was created, there's only been one incident, the 3 Mile Island, where they've actually done anything and marked any of these reactors as unsafe. Does that sound like they're doing their job? It doesn't sound like they're doing their job to me when only one reactor in 50, 60 years has been earmarked for checking into, and I mean, it's ridiculous. There's a couple of reactors that have been shut down for obvious structural damage during the building stage, but there are operational nuclear reactors which could theoretically be leaking and we wouldn't even know it. Like I said, they didn't even test the water off the Pacific Ocean. Our own government doesn't even care. I wish I was making that up. 5G networks worse than living in a microwave oven, according to new research. Wow. This is shocking.
I'm going to show you why. I just put all those up over there.
Breaking news, these new 5G Death Tower networks are going to be worse than living in a microwave oven. You saw some 15 milliwatts per meter squared on this tri-field meter. And as this victim approaches the window, he's getting dosed.
Whoa, that's unbelievable. So stay away from the windows. All right. So I can't even go outside. If you're in a hotel with a 5G transmitter, don't go near your window. Stay near the bathroom and hide by the faucet. Yeah. So how much will the room be, sir, tonight? Oh, I'd like one room, please, but preferably on the other side of the building, away from the 5G tower. I'm sorry, all those rooms are booked up. You'll have to be near the 5G tower if you want a room tonight. Okay, okay, thanks. So you pay extra to be near the 5G tower now. When we traveled across country, we had a couple of hotels where we needed a room, and we saw the 5G tower standing there. It's like, okay, but we can't be near that directly. It was across the building from us, so. But it definitely makes you wonder what kind of radiation they're putting out. And this is not like regular radiation like Fukushima. This is an electromagnetic field radiation, much lower level, mind you, but it still affects your DNA, according to studies. And I don't think we should just underestimate the dangers of this stuff. I think we really are at the apex of a time when perhaps the government's running a rogue plan to weaponize our electric systems. And that's something we as a third party would stop if we had the power. But the two parties that we have, they're not going to stop anything. They're going to rubber stamp everything we got. Okay, we got proof of giant earthworms outside of Chernobyl. A giant earthworm at Chernobyl raises fear of radiation. First a monster catfish, and now a massive worm. Photographs would be nice. Sending us an article from Asia claiming there's a massive worm is about as useful as a spare dingleberry hanging off your toilet paper. Wow. Thanks for the memories. Now, according to the Giuliani and his group of thugs working out of Ukraine, they got new developing stories about Adam Schiff and his connection to Burisma and a $7.4 billion corruption scandal. Problem is, Trump has had months to file a charge against Adam Schiff or against Joe Biden or Hunter, but there's been no processing of any prosecution whatsoever. William Barr is more concerned about attacking people at the FBI than Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. So why hasn't Donald Trump used the Justice Department to pursue any of these cases if these things are forthcoming? Because there's nothing there. The more they look at Victor Shokin, the more they realize Biden just basically had him fired because he wasn't doing his job, not because he was pursuing a case against Hunter. The Republicans have yet to prove that. Now, I agree, Hunter should not have gotten a $50,000 a month job and made $3.7 million in a few years. That was ridiculous. He had no training in this area. So it's clearly nepotism. And a lot of the stories coming out of the Russians, like this whole idea of Joe Biden being involved in all this, is coming from this jilted Ukrainian prosecutor, Yuri Lutsenko. And he's working with Rudy Giuliani. I'm not sure he's not fabricating these stories at this point. I'm going to flip this in our Flipboard and put this into the category GOP Russian corruption. Because I think Yuri is probably working for Russia too, for all we know. And let's see, White House threatened to veto massive spending bill over Ukrainian aid requirement. This is part of what Chuck Schumer is asking for. He wants a lot of the witnesses and new emails to be brought forth, documents that show that Trump threatened to veto massive spending bill over the Ukrainian aid requirement right after that infamous July phone call with Zelensky, showing the timeline that Trump really did try to undermine Ukrainian support, helping Russia the whole time. And I agree. I think that Schumer is right. We definitely need to have a trial here. If Mitch McConnell wants to pretend like there's no need for a trial, we have to expose Mitch McConnell and the fact that he's getting money from Russian oligarchs. That's right. Sanctioned Russian oligarchs are funding Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham. I keep repeating this because these are not being mentioned by the Democratic Party. The facts that Lindsey and Mitch McConnell are both getting money from this guy, Len Blavatnik, working directly for Oleg Deripaska, the guy involved in the Russian rigging of our election. It all ties together. But no, our media is not talking about it. So I have to keep reiterating it. And hopefully the Democrats will realize that they have a second round coming. Remember last week I talked about how there could be third and fourth impeachment articles? I was way ahead of the entire curve when I started talking about it, because now they're talking about exactly that. A former Hawaiian governor calls on Gabbard to resign. That's interesting. Yeah. Here it is. Impeachment 2. House lawyers say more charges are possible. Thank you very much. So I was right all along, and I believe the second layer of impeachment hearings could be going on in the near future. There's no reason why we wouldn't see a new impeachment charge for election interference. We're talking about hacking. Hacking and election interference. Seriously. What happened is the entire Mueller report, which was redacted, is, because we still don't know what the redactions say and the House doesn't seem to want to look into this, it means that they're going to have to do some serious work. The areas that are marked out in this item are mostly related to Russian hacking and election interference. So they have got to do their due diligence, find out what that is now that it's been unredacted, and the media hasn't even covered it, and then we can get on to impeachment Article 3 and 4. But obviously they're onto this now, and I've been right all along that this is another layer of impeachment that will go forward regardless of what Mitch McConnell decides to do about this first layer. And eventually the American people will realize that Mitch McConnell and Trump and Lindsey Graham are working for Russia and can't possibly provide a fair trial. They want to have a kangaroo court. Mitch McConnell wants to just close the deal as soon as it's taken up for a vote and shut it down. That's how corrupt he is. No, I know in no way do you have to listen to this please Mr. David crap about wanting to make it a felony to vote for Trump. That's ridiculous. You have no idea, if you're voting for Trump, you have no idea you're committing a felony of treason. You have no idea of that. You can't be charged with a crime. You have the right to vote. Until we as American people have a free press that exposes the treasonous activities of Donald Trump, your vote is your vote. It's entirely your right to make any choice you want. So please, Mr. David's all wrong on this one. It doesn't matter. There's more than enough evidence out there, but remember, every Trump tard doesn't want to answer the questions, what's going on. Every one of them says, oh, it's all fake news, it's all Russian hoax. Therein lies the problem. I agree with you in many ways, but in no way do I think everyone has AIDS now? Oh, wow. Really? Everyone has AIDS. I don't think so.
Everyone has AIDS.
That's an inappropriate song to play. Yeah. I don't think everyone has bacterial vaginosis either. Yeah, but claiming it's the most common vaginal infection in women aged 15 to 44 is not really important here. The fact that you're so burnt out on women is not part of the show, Hot Rails. I told you that. You know, I mean, we're not here to denigrate an entire gender, dude. You need to join some transgender hate group. That's not us. We like people who are, you know, transgender, like Greta.
I mean, it is, the money is there. If we can save the banks, then we can save the world.
Is Greta a transgender? That's a good question. Does anyone know? $34 billion biggest shopping day in history. Was it an Alibaba day or what? Well, they're spending because they got credit still. They're still giving people credit. I told you that. Now we're finding out that Trump is funding a geoengineering campaign. Okay, we'll get to that in a second. Thank you. Saturday shopping set a single-day sales record, and analysts say, and that was just me shopping. $34 billion I spent. I went wild on Amazon one day. No, I'm kidding. Holiday shopping set records over the weekend, paced by the big four mega retailers Walmart, Amazon, Costco, and Target. So it's a good sign for our economy, really. I think Trump should be impeached incessantly. That way the economy can do well. You notice how great the economy is doing, at least the Dow Jones, as long as the impeachment trial is going forward? I'm sure it is, Milrose, but it's not a discussion here you can talk about. This guy's obsessed with women and their odor. It's crazy. The look of love is in your nostrils tonight. Okay, let's take this story again. So here it is. Never Lose Truth is going to expose the Trump funding of geoengineering, the chemtrails he supposedly stopped. Remember, I've been the one saying that the Future Gen project has been funding chemtrails for years. Well, now other people are tuning into this and finding the money is in there in abundance to spray us. And Trump doesn't care.
It is December 23rd, 2019. I want to thank my subscriber in Scotland for sending me information about the U.S. government approving funds for geoengineering research. Yes, that research. Trump, who started this rumor about Trump stopping chemtrails? I still get comments from people who say Trump stopped the chemtrails. Okay.
I know. It's amazing. People still believe that Trump is going to do anything to stop the chemtrails. Hardly.
He's making arrangements for that movie. He's playing at the Cascade Mall tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Okay, sorry, I had to talk to Sarah about some things. So she's right. You know, if this is a... Yeah, I'm going to line all these up because I can't play them. She took me out of my... She logged me out of the...
Oh, you can log back in.
Well, it's going to make a phone call to do it, so get ready.
Okay.
Here we go. Yeah, Trump stopped the chemtrails. What a joke. Okay, here, I'm going to get in there right now.
Hi, everyone. It is December 23rd,
Okay, great. We're good on that. I will start loading them in now. Thank goodness. Trump's going to stop the chemtrails. What a joke. The unlawful act of 1871 we'll talk about later. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's a fact. Our country was literally bankrupted in 1933, and then we slowly became the United States corporation, indebted now for $23 trillion. Okay, please, Mr. David. Pentagon identified U.S. member killed in Afghanistan. Sergeant First Class Michael Goebel of Washington Township, New Jersey, died recently in Afghanistan. That's a bummer. I'm sorry to hear that. And okay, an $809 car payment, an $809 car payment, a $660 income. How dealers make the math work. I don't really care about that article. Don't buy a new car. Always buy a used car. The car goes down in value 50% when you take it off the lot. Never buy a new car because of that fact. Sorry to say, I mean, I know a lot of you want to buy new cars, but I don't know. It's just, why spend 50% more? No, they don't learn. Our country's got a two-party system that doesn't learn from itself. And the free press doesn't work, so technically we've got a stopgap here where we can't actually correct the problems of our country because we don't have any
How many of you saw the
we don't have any representation. Therein lies the problem. So we got Deborah Tavares talking about the dangers of the 5G network tonight. That'll be one of the things I'll be talking about at 10 o'clock. So if you guys are up, can't sleep, come on into the show. We'll have videos from all different sides of the alternative media talking about the 5G network and other areas. Links that we've been provided to by people like Scissor Fight and others. This is a good one. We're going to run this tonight again. Vice, we ran a little of it in our pre-show. How China tracks everyone. And I mean everyone. You could go jaywalking in China and you'll get a bill in the mail. I'm not kidding. They're literally tracking jaywalkers, and they know you by your facial recognition, and they'll send you a bill in the mail just by the look on your face. Isn't that weird? That's the draconian totalitarian world that we're headed toward, courtesy of China and the leftists like Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders.
Being brought forth by the Republican majority within the context of asking, as I understand it, for a $60 billion increase in military spending and major tax breaks for the wealthiest people in this country.
I remember the balanced budget amendment of 1995 where the Republicans actually wanted to cut major spending that the Democrats had put out there. But people like Bernie continue to talk about the military spending, but are not willing to cut any spending in areas that would, like lighten up the cost of our healthcare budget, like Medicare. It's interesting. So one thing about the Democrats, Republicans, they're very hesitant to cut spending. Republicans want to add more military spending usually, and the Democrats want to add more healthcare and welfare benefit spending. So it's like they want to keep spending more even though we don't have it. Instead of making new solutions that would bypass that problem, obviously a universal basic income is going to involve spending, but we want to do that to phase out welfare. That would be nice. So if we had this kind of a safety net for everybody, we wouldn't need welfare. Say a couple, like a grandma who takes care of her kids right now, she gets a big check, and sometimes she gets 2 checks because her daughter has kids. They all get checks. Well, the checks will be a lot more for the adults living at home and less for grandma. But that teaches those adults that if they want to stay in that house, they're going to have to pay grandma some rent money. It teaches fiscal responsibility. This idea does. Whereas Elizabeth Warren wants to give everybody a free education, that teaches fiscal irresponsibility. It's not good for everyone to get a free ride in this country, especially if others had to suffer, like myself, a victim of affirmative action. Whereas she claimed to be Cherokee, I didn't claim to be Cherokee. I'm not an Indian. I have Native American in my ancestry, way back about eight generations ago, but she wants to give everybody a free ride like she got, being a Cherokee Indian, even though she's not. So it's kind of funny. Liberals. If many of you are wondering what the tax returns are doing, they're on their way. We will be seeing Donald Trump's tax returns eventually. The problem is we're not seeing them right now. That's the problem. Their current lawsuit that is being held up at the Supreme Court by Ruth Bader Ginsburg, of all people, actually requires the House Ways and Means Committee should have access to all of the U.S. citizens' tax returns. There's no reason why they wouldn't have access to Trump's. They don't have to disclose any specifics, but they can review the tax returns to see if there's any red flags. Trump has fought bitterly to prevent this from happening. He doesn't want his tax returns ever seen, even though he openly said, "Oh, I'll gladly show you all my tax returns, no problem." That's a quote. Epstein, admitted to me, he said he was a spy. Oh, okay. Stephen Hoffenberg was arrested by FBI agents in Arkansas in 1996 after regulators accused him of defrauding investors. The former business partner of Jeffrey Epstein and Towers Financial spent 18 years in jail for the largest Ponzi scheme in history prior to Bernie Madoff. But the notorious sex criminal got away scot-free, Jeffrey Epstein. Why? In a series of new and exclusive interviews, Hoffenberg reveals that the real reason he evaded justice, Jeffrey Epstein evaded justice, is one of America's largest Ponzi schemes, is he was an international spy. Yep. So all of this comes under the heading of the same story that Jeffrey Epstein's had all along. He's covered. That's why he's probably still free and living comfortably on St. James Island. He's got all the coverage anyone could ever want. Prince Andrew and this woman, Virginia Giuffre Roberts, is clearly seen together here. He said he wasn't there. When Prince Andrew said he wasn't there, he was somewhere else eating pizza at a pizza store with his family. Everyone is shocked. How could this guy say he wasn't with this woman he was photographed with? And that's probably why the Queen pulled him from his royal duties, because he's clearly denying he was there in the picture. And this picture has been authenticated by various sources, according to Virginia Giuffre. So Prince Andrew was either in a sting operation, caught in the middle of it and doesn't know how to get out, was trapped in this thing, or he did it on his own free will, one or the other. So no tapes of Putin, no IRS tax returns yet. Yet we're supposed to decide whether Russia had anything to do with the election. Yeah. And Mitch McConnell doesn't want any tapes or any documents presented in the Senate trial. So it shows you how guilty the Republicans are. They don't want anyone to actually testify. Going into this impeachment trial after Trump has already been impeached in the House, once this passes from Pelosi to the Senate, we may just see a sham go down and where the Senate just shuts it all down and then the House starts up again with new impeachment charges. Because there's plenty to charge Donald Trump. All right, I'm going to let Sarah take over. I'm going to have a little dinner. Thank you.
That was good dinner.
Oh, good. I'm glad it worked out.
We'll see what they say. I just said what I want to do.
Thank you.
But who knows? Okay. Well, and Soulchild, you live in the UK, right? So, David does live a sustainable life, debt-free. It's pretty amazing. He taught me how to do that. So now I'm not even only living debt-free. Now I'm thinking, how do I save and make even more money so I can continue that? It's pretty cool, in fact. I like it. I really like my life. Oh, did David... That's weird. Top chat replay. That's strange. Live now. Alright. There. That looks better. Democrat lawmakers from Virginia call for Robert E. Lee statue to be removed from U.S. Capitol. Ah, crazy. A moist objective? Like a sensei? Alright. Stanley Kubrick. Uh-huh. You got a male C string? Like a... What does that mean? I have no idea. Uh-huh. Sure, Stanley. If you say so. They're in a court battle over the McGahn testimony. Thank you. There was a former golfer's role in the Ukraine scandal. Wow. Thank you. 370. Yeah, that was quite a sneeze. There's a radical idea that could shatter the link between emissions and global warming. Wow. I totally dislike geoengineering. I think that's stupid. I do. It's like, I think it's worse than the climate change that we're going to have to adapt to. Hello, Meta-Nemesis. Hello. Wow. I'm so glad I don't live in Texas. I'm scrolling through the news and I see, man unhappy with son's haircut shoots the barber in Texas. Yeah. And in Syria, those poor people in Syria, there's a new refugee wave because the Syrian war is continuing. An Amazon executive was killed after colliding with a van delivering the company's packages. That's freaky. That's really freaky. Well, I guess there are some good people in Texas like you, Meta-Nemesis, as well as I have a few family members down there. And BuzzFeed has an article, the title is Amazon's Race to Build a Fast Delivery Network. The human cost of this is too much. There's 2 new Pokemon games on Facebook. Totok, a spying tool used by the UAE, according to a report. Oh. I have to update my Twitter app on my Android. Oh no, I know. Not Pokemon. Exactly. I have enough Pokemon at school with second graders loving it. Boeing's faulty Starliner spacecraft returned to Earth. Makes unprecedented history. Is that the one that landed in New Mexico? Busybody, do you think Mexico should take over Texas? I don't know about that. All right. Doctors are baffled by a different flu strain popping up early in Colorado. They confirmed the first flu death of the season. A strain of the flu, which usually pops up in March and April, is popping up now around Colorado. Influenza A appears early in the flu season, from late September to May. But of the 293 hospitalizations due to flu in Colorado, most are influenza B. And they say this is the first in 10 years. Dr. Heather Young says this is the first in 10 years she's seen influenza B being predominant and during this time of the year. Influenza A and influenza B cause the same sort of illness. I wonder, you probably, if you get a flu shot, you'd probably get an influenza A shot, which would protect you from influenza B, probably. You had some pancakes at Denny's yesterday. They were so good. And yeah, it's not that difficult to make your own pancakes. You could start with a pancake mix. So like a box where it literally all you have to do is add water. Some of them you have to add like a couple eggs and water. So yeah, start with that and then branch out from there. It'll make you feel really good, meta-nemesis, to start cooking your own pancakes. Yes. And then you can get better syrup than they have at Denny's, like organic maple syrup. Delicious. I make my I made some waffles the other day. We love them here. When I make my waffles, I whisk the egg whites till they're super fluffy, so they're very good. Well, you can get the organic pancake mix that doesn't have bad stuff in it. Yeah, I love my fancy waffle maker that Diva bought me. Fast Smile. they claimed they were going to make Amazon drivers go through some 5-day course, but a defensive driving course, but they never did. Amazon's logistics operation has repeatedly emphasized speed and cost over safety. A new investigation by ProPublica and BuzzFeed News is found. You don't use any sweet syrups on pancakes? You're more of a roadie kind of fella? I think I'm just gonna... That's so weird. I have no idea what you're saying, but I don't like it, so I'm gonna start by purging you. Internal documents and interviews with company insiders show Amazon officials have ignored or overlooked signs that the company was overloading its fast-growing delivery network. They eschewed the expansive sort of training and oversight provided by a legacy carrier like UPS. Oh, good. Thanks for explaining that to me. Like, almost like... Rhodey, is it kind of like a PETA? That sounds better than PETA. Faux show. Okay. Well, I muted Mad Dog earlier. I banned one of his other accounts. Ghost is probably in the room. I was very close to banning both of Mad Dog's accounts. So, I think he finally decided he should just go get drunk and not come in the room for the rest of the night. Mad Dog doesn't drink? Okay. If you say so. Well, he definitely... I don't like him. That's cool. I'm glad you make bread every day. He just decided that we were, David and I were extremely too liberal for him. And I just didn't like his rhetoric tonight. I don't know. That's all I could assume, Bengalitis, but maybe he wasn't. Maybe he wasn't drinking. But he definitely started off with all his, like, compliments, like, almost, you know, like, Whatever. I don't even want to go there. He started talking about how he thought I was obsessed with him. Or it feels like the other way around. I haven't seen her all night. Oh, goodness. Or is that DT you're talking about, Drag King? What is that, Fat Dog 1968? What are you trying to link people to? Okay. Yeah, I know. People do tend to make a whole lot of usernames. All right.
Cool. Well, thanks for helping and being part of the show and giving us some feedback. Sarah takes over the show.
I think I'm going to get rid of this person.
Yeah, please do. Stunley is not appropriate. He's making comments that have reached the bubbling point. Yeah, you have been removed from your existence here in the room. We have permanently removed you from the show. Yeah, you got to meet the demands of our show by being respectful and also talking about politics. You know, we got one guy in here who rags on all the women he meets, and it's just terrible. It really, we don't even want him in the show. He keeps coming back. I don't even think he meets any women. Yeah, Jeff Bezos is taking over the world. When will we begin to see Amazon as a monopoly? We've been giving him so many breaks with the USPS, and Trump didn't fight hard enough to prevent that USPS rate system from giving him such a low cost. He didn't do anything. He takes my ideas and he doesn't even fight for them. I think we may have to monopoly bust Jeff. He's been making too much money. He wants to take over Federal Express now, or at least push him out of business. And he's got all kinds of ways of manipulating the system.
You have a report that Mandela is a clone, or who? Wait,
Nelson Mandela died.
wait, no, never mind. Is this that Trump is a clone? What is it? Mother of all Mandela effects discovered. Leader of the free world is a clone. We have proof.
Okay. Sure.
David would probably like that.
Yeah, let's take a look. I mean, Donald Trump may be a clone. I'm willing to look at that.
Right.
It's Conspiracy Monday. Why not? I'll put it in the link library.
All right.
Welcome to the Mandela.
Of all of the topics on...
That looks good. Thank you. Okay, Sarah, you got a big night ahead of you with the nice heater and the lots of things on TV to watch. And yeah.
I'm just going into that whole holiday Christmas romantic show deal.
You should. Yeah, it's fun. We watched a show today called The Christmas Story. It was about Christmas.
It was just called Christmas Story.
It's called Christmas Story, and it was about the origin of St. Nicholas, and it was a fictionalized story about how he grew up in the Laplands and Finland and Norway, and it's kind of romantic and nice to see this orphan boy who was raised among the families of the villages and eventually taken in by a man who made toys or little wood objects, and gradually he had all the money from that old guy, and then he created St. Nicholas. It was just kind of a mythical fantasy. Fun to watch, though. Very upbeat. Hey, Petoro. And we heard this past week that the Vatican is going to be getting more information about a lot of the priests in its order and try to find out who's one of the bad guys. So it's nice to know that the Vatican has that ability to do that. At least listen to our recommendations and other people. I know that my priest in my area wrote a letter, Father Paul wrote a letter to the Vatican, and it was online. And I actually read it. It's pretty cool. A lot of priests don't want that impression of priests to be put out there, and the Vatican is the best way to send a message to all priests that you can't do that to little boys and girls. That's right. He's listening to our comments, and it makes me feel better that at least I've got a world audience, and you are definitely, getting his ear, and I appreciate that. I think redressing the wrongs in the world is part of what religious orders should do, at least on a local level. Helping people with their own battles against evil. That's pretty much what pastors and priests are all about, really. Stopping people from committing evil acts. I wish there were people out there that, were helping the people of our government that could really properly give them sermons, but now we've got weirdos like Trump who studied under Norman Vincent Peale. When I say studied, Trump didn't study anything. He just went to church a couple times at a Presbyterian church run by Norman Vincent Peale, who was a 33rd degree Mason. And everyone knows the 33rd degree Masons worship Lucifer. Yeah. I was listening to a woman from Seattle the other day. I'm not going to say who it was, but I was talking to a person from Seattle. And she said she ran into a woman at a church in Seattle that was talking, to the children about how that Lucifer was one of the shining bright angels, and that we should all look at Lucifer as a saint. I mean, they're teaching this in some of these weird modified Christian schools now, that somehow Lucifer was somebody we should look up to. It's creepy. Yeah. And I'm going, wow, I'm not a religious site here, but when they start pushing religious ideals like Luciferianism in front of us, that's when you really put up the cross and go, I banish you, So I would urge the Pope now to reconvert the entire building that's shaped like a snake into some sort of a homeless shelter. Isn't that a great idea? It turns out that the Vatican is now looking at a homeless shelter solution for the people of the Vatican City. So I'm suggesting that they should use the snake building. Yeah. Instead of having sermons there, they should move to another new building in honor of God, as opposed to something like a snake, So look at the snake building. This is a conspiracy theory that the Pope has somehow gotten involved in darkness. And I certainly hope this isn't the truth, and it's probably not even Pope Francis is doing, but look at this building here. It's built just like a snake head. Isn't that bizarre? Yeah. So I think that would be a great homeless shelter. Yeah. So put the word through. That could be converted to a homeless shelter. You put cubicles in there and provide safe haven for the poor people of Vatican City. Mexico should not take over Texas, no. The Texans would no longer be able to say it's the great state of Texas. We don't want that to happen, because that would destroy everything in Texas. Yes, well, I'm glad that Pope Francis said this morning, my comments are right-based and with facts. That's nice. As you know, we do want to transition toward a world that's better treating the environment, but we don't necessarily want to all be taxed for that. And even the global climate change advocates like George Soros and Greta Thunberg, who want to protect the environment so that the big banks can profit.
The money is there if we can save the banks. The money is there if we can save the banks.
So I don't think that's the way to start this. I think we should start at a national level and begin to slowly improve our environment, each nation doing their part. I don't think there could be a global governance here or a global Ponzi scheme or a monopoly game, and I'm not sure everybody's going to sign on. I mean, how long has the Copenhagen Treaty been out there? 20 years? Yeah. Only 13% of the world wants to sign on to carbon point trading or carbon point legislation, or they call it carbon pricing now. 13%. And those are most of the people that aren't going to pay into it. That's like Nigeria and Zimbabwe. So I think it's a failed plan. I think the UN ought to relook at a solution based on innovation and proceeding in piecemeal, starting slow, building up. Saving the planet profitable. That's the key. Instead of taxing people to someday maybe clean up the air, let's just start doing it and fixing this problem. Because we could generate energy and liquid petroleum even out of the plastic waste we have out here. There's a guy who's in Japan who actually has a system all set to go that will actually convert plastic into oil. He's a Japanese inventor who's for over 10 years now has been pushing his idea upon the world, and we got to grab this idea and help him get famous, even if we make him our national star.
この中にプラスチックを入れます。これが油を作る原料になるプラスチックですね。ちっちゃい装置のいいところはクラッシュしない。そのまま袋のまま形のあるまま入れられるんで油になるっていうことが分かり。液体が沸騰してから、ガスがここを通って。
After the liquid boils, the gas passes through here. And then he cools it down and he's able to produce 3 grades of fuel: gas, diesel, and kerosene. Isn't that amazing? So why wouldn't we get this guy's plan to the forefront, pay him some licensing fees, and get this thing mass produced? Because our government doesn't have a will to do this. And they want to sit around and wait for them to tax your carbon and the flatulence coming out of your livestock's ass. They want to wait for that instead of fixing the problem. 'Tis the season to be toxic. La 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 la. Christmas cheer, really. I hope this is good. Here we go. Da, 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 da.
Lights are turned down low. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow.
What you're about to watch is violence in the streets of one said town. You know, this is not fun. You know, this is the kind of physical violence I've seen in mall after mall. That's why, you know, people aren't really going to malls now, because of this violence. It's a mall, I know. Here is the link for the gas machine. It's called Holy Crap, Watch This Guy Turn Plastic Back into Oil. ScienceAlert.com. There you go, Hot Rails. Check it out and watch how we can develop ideas that will innovate and fix this problem. We should be able to do this locally. And that way we wouldn't have to send our plastic on ships across the ocean to be docked at some place going, we don't want your plastic anymore, and then sent out in the ocean and dumped in the middle of the ocean. That's what's happening. I'm somewhat of a chemist. I'd like to see how the whole process happens. Yes. I see what you're saying, but check out that link. Stealth mode? Not necessarily. I think this guy worked it out. He has like a pressure cooker system that's all closed loop. Carbon is looped in that whole system. It's not escaping in the atmosphere. Dave, is it bad that I enjoy going on walks in the park and taking pictures of... Yes, it is. You're sick. You need to check into a mental hospital or get treatment or just admit to your local law enforcement that you should be a #1 risk to your neighborhood. Wow. I can't believe the people out here. They're planning on weird things with the neighbors, and I don't think they should be handing out candy canes, if you know what I mean. Would anyone like a candy cane? Kind of creepy. Last night you saw how I transformed myself from David Sponheim into Jim Carrey. That was exciting. I was happy to do it for you because many people are wondering how have I maintained my youthful appearance all these years. And I think the key is really, well, maintaining your face. Never lose face.
Hi, good morning. As you can see, I'm still wearing the shirt I wore last night and yesterday at Blog TV. It's exhilarating to do Blog TV. We've been having an incredible time. This is, in fact, day 54.
It was a hard day that day, I'll tell you. I'd been doing it for 500 straight hours trying to get the American people to wake up. I sent out press releases all across the country, and finally it became obvious to me that since I wasn't Jim Carrey, I wasn't going to be noticed. So now that people can think I'm Jim Carrey, I'm more likely to get noticed, I think. And there's no better way than to be somebody who claims they no longer exist anymore than to try to actually be that person without actually being an imposter. So I think a lot of you are wondering where I came from and the world that I live in. Well, that's not Jim Carrey. It's me, David Sponheim, and I'm still doing it after all these years. I haven't stopped. I'm not into Jim Carrey and his whole weird trip, I tell you that. I know what you were saying. It looks like STD's got the best of him. Yeah, I hear you. I didn't buy a car from it's not a clown car, man. That's a highly efficient, incredibly designed Japanese automobile called the Honda Insight, and you, sir, don't deserve to be in here when you called that a clown car. How dare you? How dare you? Can you imagine what it's going to be like for Greta Thunberg when she's an old lady? How dare you? You taking my youth away from me. Got a bad attitude, if you ask me. She needs to lighten up a little bit. If she wants to live a long life, she's going to have to be a little bit nicer. So she needs to work on that anger management. Oh, this is wrong. This is all wrong. I should be in school.
Surely one can't be so EVN. Oh, sorry, let's just turn that around. Start again. Surely one can't be so naive as to think that the raging bushfires in California as well as the ones here in Australia are just normal bushfires, when we know they have got the technology known as direct energy weaponry, or DEW, due.
Do the W, do D-E-W, do.
Just like in Mountain Dew, they could have used game fuel and then kick-start it.
Okay.
And then call it Code Red.
Huh?
Did I say this was Mountain Dew or Mountain Dew? Whatever. Do.
Whatever. What's he saying, really? He's talking about just the name Dew. Do the directed energy weapon. You know, I really respect PK, but I think that's a little off. Yeah, I think he's going to say that. I'm going to wait on that one just so I don't get YouTube banned. Thank you. Hey, we've got really good videos, though, regarding this. Like the Fox News video that played in front of the American people on a national network like Fox, describing what appears to be a weapon that was used in California called a directed energy weapon on the people of California. Take a look at this. This is weird. I'll just play a little of it.
Lasers sound like the stuff of science fiction, right? Sound completely unbelievable. How could our military possibly be using those in future warfare? Guess what? We've just had a recent breakthrough, more great test results that are making lasers a reality. So it's called Athena. Lockheed Martin makes it, and they've been doing a lot of the pioneering in this laser field. Now, what's really exciting about it is that it's so hard to harness that much power and make it compact enough that's actually going to make practical sense downrange. And they've proven that they can do that. Recently, they tested it against 5 moving drones, so realistic drones that they might go up against with, enemy forces might send against us, for example, or terrorists might send against us. And it successfully shot down all 5 of the drones. This is huge news because it means that in a realistic, practical setting, it's looking very promising. So it could be ready to field quite soon.
She's playing the decimated houses of California. I think that Arnold called it California. Yeah. Remember the Terminator? He was working as a governor, the governor. He called it California. It's a cybernetic organism, human flesh over metal exoskeleton. Yeah, it was a good time, and I believe that she using these pictures really indicates a gross manipulation of the truth. Now, I wouldn't doubt they use directed energy weapons on these cities. And then Fox is just lightly talking about it. Pretty soon it'll be like a daily thing. You'll get the news, and it'll be from the perspective of the elites who are just telling you, we are spraying you like insects. Yeah. You have no way out. You are simply pawns of the cybernetic robocops that are walking around. Here's a robocop. The future of robocops is a robo-soldier. And you will be receiving your news from the robo-center. Yeah, and the whole future will be run by closed-circuit TV. And the future will be comprised of these robocops as they look at you every day and ask you, are you human? Are you RFID'd? Are you chipped? Have you had your chip memory? Everything will be managed by the robocops. The future will be the robocop. Yeah. Welcome to the future. I am your host today on the show. I have replaced David Sponheim. I am now the RoboCop alternative. Interactive chat with Robo Dave. Yeah. How would you like to talk about the future now? That would make you feel free even though you are not. Yeah. I'm just telling you what I am. All right? You're more cray-cray to me. We will all have terrible Germanic accents in the future, Dave? No. No, that's not a terrible Germanic accent. That's just Arnold Schwarzenegger's inability to cope with reality as a Terminator. You have been removed from the show. Robo Dave 2020. Don't miss the chance to be a big participant in Robo activities with Dave. Yeah. You too can participate in this movement. It is bigger than the bowel movement. Yeah, it's the vowel movement. A-E-I-O-U. I owe you nothing. No video. We have been locked out. Hold on. We've got... Okay. We're going down and then back on again. Please refresh your video. If you're experiencing problems during the download of our show, it's due to the DDoS attack on our show by the Power Elite that are concerned that I'm warning you.
I won't see.
The Grinch gets caught shoplifting again. Whoa, this looks good. Gas station encounters. I like this. They have all kinds of remote views of the gas station and the liquor store. And you get to see people trying to run away with gas and grab.
See a movie under a 60% on Rotten Tomatoes. And sometimes I just don't get it. Something will get a 90% on the critic score and like...
Yeah, we have the Grinch that's going through everything and stealing. Yeah. Okay, welcome back, everybody, at Vaughn. I was shut down during the warning from the cybernetic organism. They didn't want me to tell you, but you will be watched. Do the do. I'll do that later. Hopefully we'll be able to respond to the final minutes of that without being kicked off YouTube. And tonight I've been doing these retro shows off of our Flipboard link file. I've got a massive link file of 153news.net links that you sent me and ones that I've added recently. And I've been removed from the show. And I've been looking at this entire story here, and I got to tell you, if you want a link, check that link out at Flipboard. That'll give you video pleasure all night long. But you just have to click on the next thing in the lineup. I'm going to try to put a lot of this on a hard drive and kind of pull it out of memory and play it, spool it. That's part of the plan for the future. So I'll be doing a little bit of this copying every night and giving you all the cutting edge 153 news stories into the evening. So from 12 to 1 every night, I now dedicated to just playing and recording videos that I will be putting in a loop that I'll play later as well. It's a plan to actually expose some of the dark sides of this government. Corrupt politicians, John Bolton fired after sabotaging peace plans in Afghanistan. John Bolton just piped up recently. He said that Donald Trump is rewriting, he's making up these stories about wanting to seek any nuclear agreement with North Korea. Nothing is in place. That's all just BS coming out of Donald Trump. John Bolton is saying that.
Hi guys, today we're making German cookies and they're called Uromas Vanillekipferl, which means great-grandmother's vanilla cookies.
Cool.
Well, not exactly cookies, they're Kipferl.
Kipferl, yeah. That's Cabin Talk. She's pretty cool. We'll look at her cookie recipe tonight. Not a nice 14-minute loop for you. There you go. Thank you. Easiest German almond cookies made. That's good. I like a German almond cookie. I'm looking for the Kipferl. Yeah. That'll be fun. She's a nice person. Why not? Yeah, I normally don't like people who are Scandinavian like myself because they're very reserved. But she's really kind of nice that she speaks out her mind. She doesn't hold back. I like that. A lot of Scandinavians are very, very closed-mouthed, closed-lipped, tight-lipped. So just going through the library here of things. We got lots of good articles like hurricane stories. I'll just be looking through this series of videos that we have in this lineup. Everything's been coming in. I'm kind of working my way from the back to the front. Starting back in 2018 when we first started recording these videos. Addictive dopamine smartphones. That looks like a good one. It's like we're being groomed. smartphones, how it's affecting us. Yeah, oh, she did a video about how Germans are like stoic and everything. Yeah, she's kind of different that way. I like that.
Today I want to try to get across to you how deadly serious I am when I say you need to get rid of your smartphones. I want to show you, I want to try to pack into one video all of the things that I have learned about where the global controllers, the technocrats, the world communists, where they want to take us.
I like that. She's really insightful. Many people like her. Yeah, she's got you like her. Nemesis likes her. We'll play that tonight too. Yeah, I'll add that to the lineup just so I can go back and I'll play that at midnight. So that's part of our show in the evening. We do talk about things that are, cutting edge, especially concerned about smartphones. Some people are buying flip phones and they aren't even using tablets. And they're running their phones in airline mode because they don't want to be tracked. They don't want Google to track their location. Yeah. I think that's a good idea. Some people are buying iPhones because they don't want the Google Android system tracking their location and constantly, updating the files. Apparently, there's a massive nexus of sensors listening in to our smartphones and our locations. Now, when you think about computers and how easy it is for them to just record data to files and how cheap memory is, it's very possible that the entire world could be listened to. And we've got that video tonight about how the Chinese government is doing just that, listening in on everything that's going on. It's beyond belief. It'll be one of the first shows we play tonight. How China tracks everyone. It's a Vice show. Okay. Timothy Leary is. All right. You like that it tracks your every move. It makes a perfect alibi. It gives you a reference of exactly where you've been every day, assuming you're carrying your smartphone. If law enforcement can prove that your smartphone was taken away from you and carried by somebody else, they wouldn't have any way of knowing you had an alibi. Yeah, you're assuming that the smartphone is attached to your body. Unless you're planning on RFID chipping yourself, that you may not have a guarantee of that in court, based on digital copyright law. No, I'm just kidding. Good luck with that. Hey, here's the ultimate motorcycle for the family who has a handicapped person in their family who wants to drive and be easy rider. Isn't that cool? That is a cool setup, man. Yeah, I can just see a man having a lot of freedom from that. Oh, it's the ATP bike, yeah, for handicapped people. Hey, Merry Christmas, Frankie. That's good to know. Merry Christmas, and all of you people who've come into our show and participate in your annual Christmas celebrations here. We do a daily show, so we're all part of the Christmas scene. Okay, yeah, you just put your cell phone in your wife's car and then go about your day meeting women in motel rooms. And you'd have a perfect alibi. Oh, I was with my wife the whole day. I'm not saying do that. Believe me, I'm not encouraging all of you to act like Donald Trump. I don't like womanizers and adulterers who won't even admit to their wife what they've done. Victor Berger? What? Very special Paula
I know what you want, and then.
Oh, we've got a special Paula Deen and other Christmas favorites from Vic Berger. Okay, that'll be fun. Thanks, Trump Tardo. And yes, U.S. authorities are reportedly set to charge an alleged conspirator in Jeffrey Epstein's child sex network. Yeah, if only they would just charge him. Would that be great? Yeah, just charge him with a crime. That would be the best thing they could do.
And called it egg-shaped. Those are not my words, I apologize. But as Mr. Critton has stated, that this is
Apparently he's still alive, so really not much we could do about it. He was seen alive on August 30th. So maybe they could charge him as well. Wouldn't that be great if Jeffrey Epstein could be charged again after being killed or dead or now seen alive 20 days later? Yeah, I don't believe he's dead. I'm sorry, I can't possibly believe that he's dead. There's no way. I have zero chance of him being dead. That whole autopsy thing was a cover-up. You're grabbing them every chance you can. Would you put this on your Christmas tree? Oh, that's a good one, yeah. I would if it was free. But if it cost our government its national security, and that might be too much. This ornament didn't hang itself. That's kind of cool. Well, it not only didn't hang itself, it's not dead. You should have this ornament is not dead. You're wired 24/7 with Microsoft and the powers that be. The cool, they asked me to work with them. You don't. Ask they come find you. Really, so stealth mode has been wired all the time. He watches his wife where she goes by just simply putting his cell phone, a burner phone that he tracks online in her car, and she doesn't even know he's watching where she goes. Now that's a real trustworthy husband. I'm wired 24/7 with Microsoft, the powers that be. Cool, they asked me to work with them. You don't ask, they come find you. So in 1999, you were so wired up that they said, dude, we want you to work with us. Wow, so you in stealth mode works for the power elite as a fluff girl?
Hickok 45 here.
I'm not sure what your job is. Fluff girl? Do you do the BJs before the pornos, or what's your job? Working for the man? How dare you come in here? How dare you? Oh, you're a game tester, a beta tester? Wow, well, that's pretty good. He's a beta tester. That's a cool job. I've met beta testers in the area. It doesn't pay that much, though. I've met beta testers that get minimum wage. I mean, are you getting good scale? Yeah. Yeah, are you making over, like, you're still making $20 an hour? Are you clearing $100,000 a year as a beta tester? Dave, you seem kind of beta, that kind of alpha as well. I am. You don't make $100,000, so you're still working your way up. That's what a lot of people are doing in beta testing. It's part-time. Yeah, it's not bad work. A lot of people enjoy it too. Now, unclear why anyone would marry someone they didn't trust. Yeah. Well, are you assuming you know who that person is when you've been with them for 15, 20 years? Because that's a big assumption. Say you've known a person for 5 years and you want to get married. You don't really know that person. Well, the thing is, some people are scripted their whole life. And, well, you've known this person for 13 years. You can almost be assured that there's going to be something new you'll find out when you get married. Yeah. For a lot of women, this just makes it real for them to have the marriage and the wedding ring, and it gives them a secure status that they feel that they could sue you if they got divorced. But you really have to understand that people have been known to change their attitude toward others. It has happened. So you can't really guarantee that you're going to be necessarily with a person you know completely, unless you really have that mythical, magical love that people have when they get married. If you're one of those people that has that mythical, magical love, great. I hope that works out for you. But the divorce rate's over 65% now, so it's not exactly happening for a lot of people. There's nothing more devastating than feeling betrayed after 13 years in a relationship. 5 years is kind of short, you're right. But if you're like 13 years in a relationship, and that's devastating for people, and especially when you're in a long-term marriage, 20 years, and you get divorced. A lot of people do. And if you don't have the kids to bind the relationship, it's even harder. Kids oftentimes are the reason why people stay together. Hey, thanks for Hickok. I'll play some of his stuff tonight. I saw him go Christmas tree hunting last night, or 2 nights ago. That was a pretty good video. He just shot the Christmas trees down. Well, it turns out that a lot of relationships take compromise, and in ways that you may not even realize. There may be something about you that that person dislikes, and they won't tell you because they don't want to hurt your feelings. But it slowly eats away at them as the marriage goes on, and eventually it's just like this big thing, and they're really pissed off about it. That happens. It does. And they don't tell you because they don't want to hurt your feelings, but then finally it comes out in some argument. And this quality about you is maybe how you are, how you roll. It's pretty tough. And then you realize, wow, well, that part of me isn't really the part that that person really loves. And then you start to think, do they really love me? Because they don't accept me as I really am. This could happen at any time in your marriage or relationship. That's why I'm saying a lot of times people are guarded in the initial stages of a relationship for the first 5 years, generally speaking. And technically the first 6 weeks in a relationship are scripted. I mean, you roll out a script that you normally have used with other women or men, vice versa. And it goes on until, it begins to, get old, the script gets old, and you've already heard each other's stories. After about 5 years, you've heard every story there ever was. And then maybe you don't want to hear that story anymore. And hear you saying the same story again, and that person's listening going to themselves, I heard that story like 5 times. I don't want to hear it anymore. It happens to me every night. Because a lot of you listen to the same stories I have. Hi, Bernie's calling. Yes, Bernie, what can I do for you? Is this Bernie? Hi. Hi, what can I do for you? What's your question? Huh. This guy, he started to mask his voice. He finally figured out we've got a voice print on this guy. We're going to be tracking him for the next 15 years. He'll never be able to get on a phone call and talk with his normal voice. He's been giving us death threats every night for at least the past 6 months. We've been getting death threats every night. It's crazy. And now he's finally masking his voice after he realized, yeah, they can trace your voice, you idiot. Same as the old one. I mean, same as it ever was. Same as it ever was. Yeah, you just got a male C string. What's that, man? Okay, I think we covered bases over at Periscope, too. The only big Periscope statement tonight was Mexico should take over Texas. I don't know, man. That wouldn't work out. It puts Mexico closer to America, too. Oh, you got a divorce rape? Okay. A divorce rape show. Okay. Okay, I'll play that later tonight. Confronting malicious divorcee. Okay. I can only imagine the pain you're suffering. Many of you who got married and now feel like your equity has been taken away in the divorce, all this. It's just a terrible thing. I've seen it happen many times. I knew a guy who was involved in a 6-week fling, and he impregnated the woman. They got married. When she found out she was pregnant, they got married. And within 6 weeks, she pretty much kicked him out of the house and sued. The divorce papers were on his door. In 6 weeks. He ended up paying a total of $200,000 over the 18 years of his child's life in child support and alimony on a 6-week romance. And that was just one of his wives. He had 3 others. The guy, he just fell for women early on and just got him pregnant and got married. For a lot of you, it's a religious thing. You're 48 years old with a 5-year-old, a daughter. Oh, good for you. Well, good for you, man. You deserve, anybody who has kids really deserves those kids. And you need to own that job of taking care of that child. But you deserve the joy of having a child. I was lucky enough to avoid that joy by not, getting some woman pregnant and having a child, out of wedlock or whatever. It's just a terrible burden. But having a baby or having a girl, having a boy as a child, it must be really cool. I don't envy you because I really don't want the burden of responsibility of that, because I would worry myself sick if I had a kid. I know, you're a pretty serious MGTOW. I hear you, man. I've met a lot of guys like you, and they're trying to find solutions out there online, and there's probably a society growing. But you were married 10 years before you had kids, so you planned this child. That's cool. The thing that I'm concerned about is I don't really like the world I'm living in. I don't. I'll be frank, I'm not really happy with the world, the way it turned out. It's been a very difficult time for me to accept that this is the best we got. That's part of the reason why I'm running for president always, because I just am not happy with the way we're corrupting our children with this constant violence, television, immorality rampant on the internet. But most of all, it's the water and the air that's polluted that bothers me. And the fact that they're pushing vaccines that aren't exactly safe on kids. Now, of the Democrats, Joe Biden is the best. Yeah. I'm not really here to talk about Joe Biden in a positive way, but I don't like any of the Democrats at all. But Joe Biden is the best of the worst. That's how I see it. All I'm saying is that, there are reasons why people have children, and some people think it's selfish to have kids, replicating your seed, that kind of thing, your egg or whatever. Some people think it's completely selfish not to have kids and not to bear the burden of raising children. So it goes both ways. It's really irrelevant who's selfish and who's not. Bad Santa is something you're going to go see, Rodney. That's going to be fun for you. Are you going to do the blessing? Yeah, if you can't watch a good Santa, why not watch a bad one? Okay, we got a big story. 6 companies are about to merge into the biggest farm business oligopoly in U.S. history. Monsanto. Overall, U.S. farm income has been in a decline. It has. 2% losses every year since George W. Bush left office. Dow, DuPont, Bayer, Syngenta, Monsanto. Seed growth is down. Big farms are about to get a lot bigger, with 6 agriculture giants on the verge of merging into 3 separate companies. Wow. Top executives from Bayer, Monsanto, DuPont, Dow, and Syngenta today testified before U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee. That was September. We're way past that. This is an old article. This is 3 years older. Okay. I don't know how that got stuck in here. It's 3 years old, man. And this story. Up to 21,000 Atlantic salmon escaped after a BC fish farm fire damages a net pen. Environmental and indigenous groups say the escape presents ecological and environmental risks to wild salmon. Yeah. The farm-raised salmon are genetically modified, and it's affecting. There's nothing they can do. We're going to see bigger salmon. Sorry. The salmon are going to get 4 times bigger. I'm not protesting. Why many of us bought small farms like you, all organic. Really? So you actually got an organic farm, and you've got a kid, and you also work as a beta tester for gaming? Wow, you're all over the place, stealth mode. That's amazing. He's a beta test gamer. He's got a farm, an organic farm no less, and he's raising a child. You're doing everything. Wow. Hats off to you, man. You deserve a real serious, candy cane there. I don't know how you do it. You're meant to do this. It's your destiny. You've been put on this earth to do that. That's how you do it. It's like you got a pathway and you're walking it. Well, in my opinion, modern agriculture and ranching are essential to our growth of our food supply, but we're not even managing the soil right. Okay, we got the what's going on video coming up. The fact is our soil is being neglected, and the two parties have both neglected our soil. Obama and Donald Trump both ignored the farmers' ability to resolve the problems of the world that they themselves are not even getting tips from anyone to resolve. Yeah, there's things that we need to do to fix this problem, and it's not going to happen any other way. We need to dedicate no more Roundup use on a mass agricultural level. And I would be willing to modify even Roundup sales at local markets because it is such a toxic substance. Putting Roundup out there on the earth is only going to kill off the soil. And overuse of agricultural chemicals as well as herbicides and pesticides literally leaches the soil of all of its nutrients and kills everything in it. It's biomass. Now, Rodale Institute did a study. The famous for their organic gardening magazine, Rodale Institute did a study that showed that organically grown produce is just as drought resistant as genetically modified produce, if not more. There's no benefit in genetically modifying seeds if we can get the same result by building up the soil. That's a serious reality. Plus, we're not taking in toxins when we eat organic food. We're eating really clean, well-made, no toxins, and whenever we have to use pesticides, I understand that may have to happen, especially if we have a locust outbreak or something. But yeah, you got a pretty good green thumb. When you started, you just had stripped sand, and then you've grown up from there. And it took you 10 years of organic reconditioning of the soil to grow fruit trees. Well, you're doing everything right, man. I wouldn't doubt you're raising farm animals to create livestock or create manure too. Are you raising chickens or rabbits or some sort of a manure production system? I believe you. You don't have to, I don't have any reason to disbelieve you. We could provide enough food. So how do you get your fertilizer from an organic farm without animals? Where are you getting your fertilizer if you don't have animals or livestock? You buy fertilizer? Okay. Wow. I'm amazed. Yeah. Okay. There's some pretty good fertilizers out there that are organic, I will admit. But there's also a very low-cost way of having an organic farm with livestock. Well, the soil is not over yet. We can revive the soil. You buy it by the truckload, that's very smart. Hats off to you. It's expensive, but it's probably, in the long run, you're building a huge garden. There's a garden in Scotland that is an all-organic garden. That's 25-acre, Lockerbie, Scotland, I believe. Lockerbie, no, that's... Yeah, Lockerbie, Scotland. 25-acre organic farm, and it is amazing. The yield is 5 times normal because they use this incredible soil tilling system that circulates fertilizer in and compost in all the time, and you can literally put your hand right down into the soil. Like say it's like putting your hand right down, your fist all the way down into the soil. When you're fisting the soil. And it goes all the way elbow deep, and you can actually feel lightness in the soil. and they mist it, and they get all the kind of moisture going on with drip irrigators. It's just amazing. And they're able to grow 5 times more than they normally would. Just work in the soil. It's fascinating. What we can do is put together a plan that integrates even Dow Chemical, gets them on the right page. I envision a way in which Dow Chemical can work with like Tyson Foods and other chicken waste producers to integrate a lot of that toxic chicken waste into a natural chemical fertilizer, a non-chemical fertilizer, like a tea, if you will, that's safe and less toxic than the current chemical fertilizers we're using. We can also use natural ways in which we can revive the soil using like a mild detergent with Epsom salt would actually kill insect. It would kill be like an herbicide. It would kill weeds, but it would also reinvigorate the soil and get rid of the glyphosate that's in the groundwater right now and in the ground soil that's preventing things from growing. Glyphosate and Roundup is actually killing our long-term projected agricultural output. That's what's happening. It's not going to get any better unless we do something to clean the soil. And mild detergent actually doesn't hurt it like ivory. What it does is it strips away a lot of the toxins from the root base and opens up the possibility of new nitrogen nodules forming and the whole process starting right over again. So we could actually leach a lot of the dangerous chemicals deeper into the ground and still use the soil on the top as the lower portions slowly denitrify and break down those chemicals. We've got a long way to go. We've had years of abuse by the two-party system. And that's why a third party could clean up our act and begin the process of fixing this beautiful nation of ours. And one thing we don't need is a dystopian future with robo-soldiers, ruling the world. But we're going in that direction anyway, so we're going to have to deal with that as well. Brutality by cops, we have to deal with that. The stubbornness of our government to open up a plan to legalize marijuana, we got to go with that. We're wasting money on NASA and unnecessary programs that are going to rob us of our future simply by pretending like there's a solution on Mars or something. We're killing the planet instead of solving the planet's problems. We're spending money on NASA to go fly off in the middle of nowhere. It's not going to solve the problems here. So we got a lot of work to do. Okay. Well, that concludes another wonderful, like a Conspiracy Monday show, but I haven't really touched too much on the impeachment process because we're still waiting on Nancy Pelosi to pass that torch over to Mitch McConnell. Charles Schumer is insisting upon a series of witnesses as well as documents presented, he said, have recently come in about Trump and the timeline on Ukraine. That being said, it may be that they're going to hold this thing up for a while. We'll see how long, too. It's getting to the point where Americans really, at this point, don't even care. Trump is rolling along with his constant BS rhetoric. The stock market seems to be going okay in lieu of this impeachment process. And yes, it may turn into a second impeachment out of the House. They may be putting together new articles as well because more and more evidence is popping up that Donald Trump was indeed getting help from the Russians to win the election. That's not something they made up. Yeah, Trump really did get help from the Russians. And he has had no tapes of Putin recorded, which means he didn't bother to cover his ass, which means it's a huge open possibility that that first encounter with Putin, we may have some tapes on, which may reveal that Trump is working for Putin. That's why he's hiding it. And the IRS tax returns will be a big issue. But it won't be till June till we actually hear from these. Believe it or not, 3 years in the making, and it won't be till June because of what Ruth Bader Ginsburg just did. She's holding it up in the Supreme Court. So a lot of this is almost insanely going on forever and ever. Nobody can get around this. We just got a note from Steve Mnuchin and Zero Hedge, and I guess I can touch on this tomorrow on Truth Tuesday, but this is interesting. Apparently there's 1.5 trillion in $100 bills that have disappeared from circulation. And Steve Mnuchin is claiming that they're actually sitting in banks all around the world. Okay. But no one really can trace where. U.S. $100 bills have doubled in circulation volume since the global financial crisis, overtaking the U.S. $1 bill. Whoa, really? Wow. So they're just throwing tons of money into the system to keep it rolling and borrowing from the future to pay for, borrowing from tomorrow to pay for today. So that does not bode well for a country that keeps borrowing money to keep afloat. And now Mnuchin claims it's in overseas banks. Yeah, well, maybe it is. But that doesn't mean it's in our banks. Wow, that's kind of wild. I'll have to look at that tomorrow night. Okay, another great show. Thank you for coming in, and we'll be back tomorrow for Truth Tuesday, where we will take on the big tough topics of 9/11, the false flag events that have been happening, and the fact that they are literally poisoning us with fluoride in our water system on a daily basis. And nobody seems to want to face up to that truth. It's no longer a conspiracy theory that fluoride lowers our IQ. All right, take care. Good night, everybody. Have a good one.
My feet, my heart stops to beat, cause you make me melt away. My Mr. Right, too good to be true, my world around, cause you're the peace I find. They found you sweep me up my feet, my heart stops to beat, cause you make me melt away. My Mr. Right, too good.